Welcome to Streaming News Network, Morning Edition, by J. Claude McDaniel. News without the hype and biased reporting. Please like and subscribe.
This is J. Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. A tragic crash in North Carolina is drawing renewed attention to immigration enforcement after a 6-year-old girl lost her life in a traffic collision on July 3. Authorities say Jamie Santiago Corona, a Mexican national who officials report had previously been deported 3 times and had unlawfully entered the United States on 4 occasions, has been charged in connection with the crash. According to investigators, Corona was driving a pickup truck that allegedly failed to stop at a stop sign before colliding with a sport utility vehicle carrying a mother and 2 children. 6-year-old Callie Toller died from her injuries, while her mother and a 4-year-old child were seriously injured. Federal immigration officials have filed a detainer requesting that North Carolina authorities notify them before any release from custody. The Department of Homeland Security stated that the suspect has prior convictions that include driving under the influence and obstructing law enforcement, calling the incident preventable. Corona faces multiple charges, including misdemeanor death by vehicle, reckless driving, failing to stop at a stop sign, and driving with a revoked license. He remains in the Pitt County Detention Center on a secured bond of $100,000, with court records identifying him as a potential flight risk. The Pitt County Sheriff's Office has indicated it will cooperate with federal immigration authorities as the investigation continues. This is J. Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Federal authorities are reportedly investigating the financial operations of the Argentine Football Association in connection with hundreds of millions of dollars transferred through banks and businesses in South Florida. According to multiple reports, the Federal Bureau of Investigation is leading an inquiry into possible fraud and money laundering involving more than $300 million in transactions linked to the United States. The investigation is said to be examining financial activity involving the association's leadership and its commercial partnerships. Investigators are reportedly reviewing sponsorship payments connected to TourProdenter, a Florida-based company that has managed the association's international commercial agreements with major sponsors. Authorities are examining whether funds intended for the association may have been redirected through financial intermediaries before reaching recipients in Argentina. Reports indicate investigators have also interviewed individuals connected to the organization's business operations as they seek additional information about the movement of sponsorship revenue over the past several years. The Argentine Football Association has not publicly commented on the reported investigation. The organization maintains a growing presence in South Florida, where it has opened a regional office and is developing soccer training facilities ahead of upcoming international tournaments, including the 2026 FIFA World Cup. At this time, no criminal charges have been announced, and the investigation remains ongoing. This is J. Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. Political divisions within the Democratic Party are growing after Maine Democratic Senate nominee Graham Platner suspended his campaign following allegations of sexual assault. Platner has denied the accusations. The controversy has also placed renewed attention on millionaire Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, who was one of Platner's earliest and most prominent supporters before withdrawing his endorsement after the allegations became public. Several Democratic leaders and strategists have questioned the party's candidate vetting process. Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania publicly criticized Sanders, arguing that party leaders should take greater responsibility for candidates they help elevate. Other Democratic strategists have echoed concerns, saying the situation could prompt more rigorous background reviews for future candidates. The debate has highlighted ongoing differences within the Democratic Party over candidate recruitment and campaign strategy as members prepare for upcoming Senate races. Former Maine congressional candidate Joe Baldacci said the experience may encourage stronger screening of candidates in future elections, while emphasizing that responsibility for the allegations ultimately rests with the individual involved. At this time, Platner has suspended his campaign, denies the allegations against him, and no criminal conviction related to those allegations has been reported. This is J. Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. Country music artist Mark Chesnutt is mourning the loss of his longtime bass player and close friend, Dave Sirmon, who died unexpectedly while the band was traveling on its 2026 Redemption Tour. Chesnutt announced the news on social media, describing Sirmon as an exceptional musician, a dependable colleague, and someone whose positive attitude touched everyone around him. He praised his longtime bandmate for his dedication both on and off the stage, saying he could always be counted on for advice, music, and the many responsibilities that come with life on the road. Sirmon's wife later confirmed that he passed away peacefully in his sleep aboard the tour bus. The cause of death has not been publicly released. Friends and members of the country music community have also paid tribute, remembering Sirmon for his generosity, welcoming spirit, and the lasting impact he had on those who knew him. A fundraising effort has been launched to help support his family during this difficult time. Despite the loss, Chesnutt is expected to continue his tour with upcoming performances in Wisconsin later this week. This is J. Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. The Trump administration's recent diplomatic outreach to Syria is generating discussion about whether the country could eventually serve as an alternative route for Middle Eastern oil and natural gas exports, reducing reliance on the Strait of Hormuz. President Donald Trump recently announced that the United States would remove Syria from its list of state sponsors of terrorism after meeting with Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa. The administration has also encouraged American investment in Syria's energy, banking, and infrastructure sectors. Analysts say Syria's Mediterranean coastline and connections to energy-producing nations could make it a future hub for pipelines and overland transportation of oil and natural gas to European markets. Such routes could reduce the importance of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, where tensions have periodically threatened global energy supplies. However, experts caution that significant obstacles remain. Syria continues to face security concerns, damaged infrastructure, financial system challenges, and complex regional political dynamics. Proposed pipeline projects are still in the planning stages, and no large-scale alternative energy corridor has yet been completed. For now, the idea represents a potential long-term strategic option rather than an immediate replacement for one of the world's busiest maritime energy routes. This is J. Claude McDaniel of Streaming News Network. Anti-immigration protests intensified across parts of South Africa on Thursday as demonstrators in several communities conducted door-to-door searches for people they believed were living in the country without legal authorization. In Johannesburg's Alexandra Township, protesters reportedly entered homes and escorted suspected undocumented migrants to police officers for processing. Some individuals taken into custody claimed they were legally residing in South Africa, including one Zimbabwean man who said he held a valid work permit. Witnesses also reported that a woman and a young child from Malawi were among those detained. Additional demonstrations were held in Soweto and the coastal city of Durban, where organizers called for stricter immigration enforcement, stronger border security, and increased deportations of undocumented migrants. The protests come amid growing public frustration over unemployment and economic challenges, with some activist groups blaming illegal immigration for worsening conditions. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has urged citizens not to target immigrants or take law enforcement into their own hands, emphasizing that immigration enforcement is the responsibility of government authorities. Police have increased operations targeting undocumented migrants while also maintaining a security presence at protest locations. The demonstrations are expected to continue in the coming weeks. This is J. Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Questions continue to grow over the health of Senator Mitch McConnell following his extended absence from public view after a reported medical emergency in June. Representative Marlin Stutzman of Indiana recently called for greater transparency regarding the Kentucky senator's condition. During a television interview, Stutzman said he has received little information about McConnell's health and believes both Kentucky voters and members of Congress deserve an official update. McConnell has not appeared publicly since suffering a reported cardiac arrest at his Washington residence, where emergency responders provided medical assistance before he was hospitalized. Despite his absence, McConnell's staff has stated that he remains engaged with Senate business and continues working with his aides, although he has not been participating in Senate votes during his recovery. The senator's prolonged absence has drawn attention because Republicans hold a narrow majority in the Senate, making every vote potentially significant as lawmakers prepare to return to session. As of now, McConnell's office has not released additional details about his medical condition or provided a timeline for his return to Capitol Hill. This is J. Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Minnesota law enforcement officials say several shootings over the Independence Day weekend may be connected to Somalia youth gang activity in the Minneapolis metropolitan area. Ramsey County Sheriff Bob Fletcher said officers responded to a large gathering in Arden Hills over the holiday weekend and later linked some individuals from that event to a shooting reported in northeast Minneapolis. Authorities say they have seen an increase in youth gang activity in recent years, with investigators identifying multiple groups operating across the Minneapolis-St. Paul region and nearby communities. Investigators say many of these incidents appear to be driven by social media recognition, personal rivalries, and status rather than organized criminal enterprises such as drug trafficking. Sheriff Fletcher also cited an increase in gang-related shootings and homicides over the past 2 years, though those figures have not been independently verified in court proceedings. The sheriff's remarks drew criticism from Minneapolis City Council Vice President Jamal Osman, who cautioned against broad characterizations of the Somali community. Osman emphasized that the overwhelming majority of Somali residents are law-abiding and said young people should be supported through education, opportunity, and community investment. Authorities say investigations into the recent shootings remain ongoing. This is J. Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Actress Joanna Pettet, best known for her performances in The Group, Casino Royale, and the television drama Knots Landing, has died at the age of 83. Her death was announced by a longtime friend and former manager, who said Pettet passed away on July 7. No cause of death has been publicly released. Pettet gained widespread recognition in 1966 with her role as Kay in The Group, a film adaptation of Mary McCarthy's best-selling novel that explored complex social issues of the era. The following year, she appeared in the James Bond parody Casino Royale, portraying Mata Bond. Although she found early success in films, much of her career was spent on television. Over several decades, Pettet made guest appearances on numerous popular series, including The Fugitive, Mannix, Policewoman, Fantasy Island, Knight Rider, Charlie's Angels, The Love Boat, and she later earned a recurring role on Knots Landing. Joanna Pettet is remembered for a career that spanned more than 3 decades across both film and television, leaving behind a lasting body of work enjoyed by generations of audiences.
Thank you for listening to Streaming News Network videos and our short reports. Please like and subscribe to our news channel.